Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. And today I get to sit with my friend, Andy Williams, who is a decision navigator. He's going to teach you about some stuff that you probably didn't even know existed, decision science. Andy, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
It's so good to see you, man. Now tell me, what is a decision navigator?
Yeah, so I feel like one of the gifts I have is clarity. I have the ability to see around corners that other people can't see, and I can recognize the patterns and traps in people's decision making. And I can apply frameworks that I've learned and honed over the years to help people navigate past those gaps, those problem areas, and in a lot of cases, overcome that indecision that just keeps us from moving forward.
Yeah, overcoming indecision. Now, have you always been that way in your life? Like, have you always been a person like who's quick to convert to action and decisive? Is that how people would describe you, or did you learn it?
I think it was more of a learn for me.
Yeah.
I was always obsessed with decision making. And I went to graduate school to study the field of decision science, which, yeah, it's an actual field. You can go get a master's degree, even a PhD if you want to in it.
Wow.
But I was 2 years into my study and I had taken five, six, seven courses, and I was about to make a big decision in my life. Am I going to finish my PhD? Am I going to launch a startup? Or am I going to go into consulting? And I got to the day I needed to make this decision, and I froze. Froze.
Yeah.
Couldn't decide. Here I was, had all this data, this information. I'd even learned the processes, the techniques, and I couldn't do it. And nothing in my arsenal, nothing I had learned there could really prepare me to make that decision. And that made me realize there is a much bigger story than just this little few techniques or a couple simple
Yeah.
frameworks.
Yeah. So what was missing? What was it that you needed that you didn't have in your tool belt?
It starts at the beginning. If you think about decision making as a process, a lot of us leap way ahead to what are my options? Let's rank them up. Let's do some pro cons. And good decision making starts way, way, way before that. And I will say at that time, I was not a believer, was not walking that path. And I thought I had figured out, oh, I need to move it back 3 steps. And then once I got in touch with my spiritual side, I realized there's 5 more steps further back. If you're going to steward this well,
Yes.
you need to move way, way back there to do it well. So there's more than a simple pro con list is what most of us need. Yeah.
That's amazing, man. So at that time, you're in college, you have this, big decision that you need to make. How did that play out?
Well, I bailed, honestly. I let the two of the options basically just time out, which is sometimes what we let
Yeah.
happen, right? There was
Yeah.
there was an end date basically on the PhD. My business partner said, you're in or you're out. And I went into consulting, which
Yeah.
has worked out all right for me. It is a good place to hone and develop the craft of helping people make decisions, helping transformation happen. But it was more the decision that I fell into more than the
Yes.
decision that I actively made. And I had to sort of
Yes.
reboot and figure out like, okay, let's get serious about directing your life with your own decisions after that moment.
Yeah. So how recently did you discover kind of the extra arrows in the quiver or the other pieces that needed to be present? And it sounds like there's some faith pieces also that had to be present. And so can you tell us a little bit about how all those work together?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'll start with the moment where somebody called out something I wasn't seeing that I had done. I was in the working world. I was helping manage a big chunk of a major transition. Two basically billion-dollar companies being merged together. I was responsible for several work streams in there. And I was talking to one of my peers about something that was going on. And I was describing something I was trying to do. And I said, oh, I feel like solving problems like this is my superpower. And she's like, no, it's not. She said, you're really good at that, but intentionality is your superpower.
Wow. Seriously. So she said it under that name. That gets me pumped because
Yeah, she
I'm all
said,
about.
just like that, that's your superpower. And I said, tell me more about that. And she's like, well, a lot of us can see what needs to change and has to change, and you won't let it go. There is a better path and a right way to walk that path. like it burns you inside when that's not happening. And it's not because of the organization, it's because you can see what it's doing to all the people. And you were
Yeah.
intentional about steering people down the right paths. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Apparently, I have honed this,
Yeah.
possibly without even realizing it over all those years.
Did you resonate when she said it? When she said it, did you feel like, oh, this is clearly true?
Yeah, it felt like truth because it was a spin on something I was seeing. It wasn't like she had picked something out of thin air. It was like, yeah, it's connected to what you think, but here, let me make this twist on it. So that made it more palatable, I would say. Yeah, that it was connected.
Yeah. What I'll call out here also is how important it is to be in community, and how often community will name things or call things out in you that maybe you kind of knew were there, but maybe you didn't know at all. And they tell you and tell you things that you need to hear about the way that you work, right? Because you're inside, and we are very subjective, and there's a lot you can know about yourself from the inside. But there's some checks and balances that you really need on the outside too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think I make the next two leaps to where I got to now without that. The first one is the intentionality. The second, I
Yeah.
had a friend bring me someone that they knew who was looking about considering going to go back and get his MBA. I'm not doing any
Yeah.
coaching at this time. I don't do career stuff. He's like, you should talk to Andy. This guy calls me, and what he probably thinks is about to happen in this moment is he's going to ask me some questions about consulting, get a little insight. And instead of giving advice, I ask a few questions. And I ask questions about his big, bold life that he's trying to build and what motivates him. And then I use a framework. I had not even realized I had built this up in my head. I deconstructed his decision for him live on the call, and I reframed it for him. And this is in 20 minutes. And he's like, I only set aside 30 minutes for this chat. Like, I feel like I need more time with you. I was like, but is what I doing with you right now, this conversation makes sense? And he was like, yeah, I was in such a rush to make this decision, and I was letting everything else tell me, oh, it's either option A or option B, and like I hadn't even realized it. I was like, I had already built up this framework. I just never thought about using it that way. So that next step was, here I've got somebody looking for basically like a life coach. And I'm like, no. I help people with decisions. It's totally different, right?
Yeah. Well, how is it different? How is being a life coach different from being a decision navigator?
I would say the big thing for me, I have coaching clients. I work with them in all matter of moments, but I am at my best when someone is particularly in a moment of autopilot or kind of stuck. Because my style, my approach is probably a little more analytical than maybe the supportive piece of the process. I do those, but they are not my number one strength, the encouraging and the supporter. I am more the, hey, I'm going to help you break it down and see your own world in a way that you can't see it right now so that you can get unstuck and start moving forward.
Dude, I love it. And that sounds like calling. That sounds like a thesis statement maybe for your calling. Is that close to how you would put it?
I would say my life verse is Romans 12:2, and it's because I see people who just conform to the pattern of this world.
Okay.
And I want them I want to see that transformation. I want to see the renewing of their mind. I want them to be living in God's will. And all too often we're on autopilot. And I've been on autopilot. We all hit a moment in our lives we're on autopilot. But we got one big, bold life to live. Let's try to spend as little time as possible on autopilot, right?
Yes. Yeah, man. So that autopilot language, I'll pick out a couple words that I'm hearing. And let me ask this question also before I do that. Are you working with people of faith primarily? Are you working with people that are not of faith? Like, what's the mix of people that are coming to you?
Yeah, it's still a mix. I would say it would be unlikely that I would work with somebody whose primary driving force is to make as much money as possible. But they do not necessarily have to be a Christian. They do not even really need to have faith, but they need to see the world in a different way. It's either connection, meaning, purpose. My approach to things is going to resonate better for them, and I'm going to be able to help accelerate them faster than that other group maybe.
Yeah. So generally, people who are mission or purpose driven are going to resonate with you more. And I imagine that a high percentage of those people are probably people of faith.
I would say so. And what I say is I work with people who are ready to live on purpose. They don't always know their purpose, but I can definitely help them live on purpose. And if you do that long enough, you might just find your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. So tease that out for me a little bit, because I've never heard that said in that way. So what do you mean?
So I feel like sometimes when people say that they're looking for their purpose, as if it's like hidden away somewhere from them and they're on some kind of scavenger hunt. And I would challenge us to think that each and every day we can live on purpose, and you may never even find that purpose, but that's A, it's intentionality, and for me, B, and for believers, it's for others. So I feel like that's going to be part of that formula. And then, like I said, good things happen. If you start doing those two things, wow, just good things happen, right?
Yeah. And those two things are what? Summarize for me.
Be intentional about your actions and orient your life in an other-centered way.
Yeah, dude. Yes. It is hard to picture that would lead to bad outcomes. Yeah.
It's hard to argue with. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. But I also love that, because that is a language that you can use both in the church and in the marketplace, right? Like that's a language. And so, I'm finding that in my own mission and calling, right? Like I do kingdom superpowers and kingdom connections, and that is explicitly Christian and faith-based. And then I do the superpower quest, which is a mixed audience, people that believe and people that don't believe. And yet I'm basically saying the same thing, both places in a lot of ways, at least the same. I am the same person in both spaces, right? But I can be the same person in both spaces and still become all things to all people, right? And my language is going to be different depending on my context, because I'm going to respect the context, right? So yeah, I hear that in what you're saying. Like you're calling somebody towards purpose and towards others-centered orientation and towards intentional living, and you can say that in any room.
Absolutely. And my consulting work, this comes up a lot, particularly if I'm doing corporate work. If you ask people what the quality of the decision making in the broader organization they work in is, they tend to rate it as average to below average. But if you ask them how good the quality of the decision making is on their own team, turns out it's like a 9 out of a 10 almost every time. So either I have an exceptional network of people that responded to my surveys and my research, or there's something else going on here, possibly. Just throwing that out there. So what I have found is, for me to do that kind of work and help organizations, broader organizations, again, in the marketplace, outside of the faith context, I'm usually doing my work embedded in some other transformational change, when everybody is just sort of open to new ways of doing things. We got to get from A to B, where my skills are powerful, but nobody has to raise their hand and say, yeah, we're bad at decision making, because that's a whole. And again, well, that's a reality on the personal side too, but on the corporate side, this happens a lot, which is I am a facilitator of those shifts, and people have called me out for years on calmness under complexity and never losing sight of the big vision, and those invite some interesting conversations. Particularly in, it's not because I don't have a perfect bad backstory and nothing bad has ever happened to me. Like, it is just how I respond and what I believe and the way I can carry through. So as we all know from working in an organizational context, that's an attractive quality to believers and non-believers alike. And they want to know, like, did you just see the same thing I saw in that room? How did that not bug you? And I'm like, hey, I am responsible for helping us be better for each other, I didn't take it
Yeah.
personally, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so is that does I've heard the terminology or the term change management before. Are you a subset inside of that space or how does that word relate to what you do?
Yes, again, for a chunk of what I do, I sort of work more as a consultant. And imagine a large organization that's going through some big shift or change. It could be, like I said, one company merging with another. It could be major leadership overhaul or, trying to launch a new product. Uh, those sort of changes that require more than just doing what we normally do. And those spur a lot of decisions that have to get made quickly, and they
Mm-hmm.
need to be in alignment with each other. So
Yep.
it puts the organization's decision making ability under stress because of how many
Yep.
and how fast and how critical that they
Yep.
stay aligned.
Yes. Right. That's one part. And then what's the other part?
Of the work that I do, yeah. So outside of the organizational context like that, I am more of trainer, teacher, coach. So that is trying to build into individuals, either helping them in a unique moment in their life to make a decision, or more ideally, preparing them over the long haul to build the skills in themselves to to be able to quickly identify and unlock those indecision, on catch yourself on autopilot so that they don't
Yep.
happen again.
Would you call that more coaching than consulting? Or what would you call that?
That is definitely coaching is probably the closest word.
Okay.
I again talking about other people speaking truth into your life. I had one person introduce me as a therapist. He's like, "Oh, he's a decision therapist,"
Wow.
and it was funny to see how I bristled at the notion. I'm like, "Well, I'm not licensed
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
therapist," but
Yeah.
sure enough, the person that was brought to me and introduced me as a decision therapist who hired me, that's really what they needed. Like they were so emotionally wound up in one particular decision that it was clouding all the others. And yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, coach, consultant mostly in the corporate space, and coach when I'm working with individuals.
What do you have more of, the corporate consulting or the individual coaching?
My goal is to shift as much to the individuals as possible over time. As we start to think about like dream, my history was largely on the corporate side, as much as 100%. And I'm working my way toward 50-50 and hopefully even beyond that. But that's going to take some more intentionality to scale and find new ways to help individuals, whether it's developing courses, doing groups, other things. Coaching only scales so far, and I also have big dreams about the number of people I can impact too.
Yeah, man. Have you tried any group group decision therapy sessions?
I have done training sessions, so I have done take a half day, walk people through, introducing them to a basic decision framework. Half days, not a lot, but that's about what people will sign up for. And in a group setting like that, it works fairly well from a training standpoint. You don't get very personal, and you don't solve too many of their individual problems, but you give them some techniques that can help them unlock some of their own barriers.
But it sounds like your favorite right now would be walking a person. Um, I'm guessing on a weekly cadence or something like that, right? Weekly, monthly, I don't know. Is weekly or monthly what you like on the individual?
For the decisions, it's usually weekly or biweekly. Yeah.
Okay, so weekly or bi-weekly. So it sounds like that's like what you want the most is maybe that weekly, bi-weekly, ongoing decision coaching, decision therapy, whatever you want to call it. That's the is that for now kind of the top of the list of what you'd like to see more of?
Yeah, that's the for now. I'm working very quickly right now in the background to build out coursework. And I strongly believe that from a scaling standpoint, a combination of coursework and courses and groups can probably accelerate people the fastest,
Yeah.
and would most be able to make the transition from people who are just trying to escape a current moment of indecision and try to conquer
Mm-hmm.
this thing once and for all.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's good that I have repeat clients, but it makes me a little sad to have a repeat client like 2 years later. It's like they're back for help solving another decision. I want to be like, oh man, this kind of sounds like the same thing that happened last time. My heart
Yeah.
breaks a little bit because they haven't fully embedded some of those mindsets that could help them avoid it for themselves. So in a way,
Yeah.
it's good and it's bad. I'm doing good work and I'm helping people, but
Yeah.
I want to set them on a freedom path.
That totally makes sense. You don't want to just be a person that they call in on a crisis. You don't just want to be managing the branches of the tree, right? You want to deal with the root of the problem, which is helping people grow in their very approach to decision making, right? So you don't want to be their coach forever.
Absolutely.
Right. That's a good coach. A good coach doesn't want to be your coach forever.
Yeah.
Right. They want to coach you to the championship and, then hand you off to the next stage of life.
Precisely.
Right?
Precisely. Yep.
Yeah. That's very, now what lights you up in that process? You love the individual. That's what you want more of at this point. What is it about that lights you up and that makes you happy?
I think it comes back to the not conforming. I'll take that example, a different example of an individual who was getting their MBA, finishing their MBA, trying to choose this job or that job. And, in our discussions, it was clear some of what was weighing on whether they should do one thing versus the other was the expectation. Like, I'm near the top of my class. I was this and that, and I got this offer. Nobody turns down an offer from that company. And it's like, but is that what you want? Is that on your life path to that big dream? Yeah. Right? Because we start with, hey, let's talk about that big dream. Because in decision making and in decision science, when you approach it as a science, what you're trying to do is use your decisions to increase the likelihood that big dream comes true. Because so let's start with a mindset of decision making. We have luck and things in our control. Nothing is 100%, but also nothing is 0%. So what we're doing is we're adjusting probabilities when we're making our decision. Yeah. So if you have this big dream, you should be making decisions that keep increasing the probability of that future. So I'm like, hey, does that increase that probability of that big future? And let's walk it through. And he was trying to convince himself how it was. He came back the next time and he was like, well, if this and this. And I was like, wouldn't this just get there faster? And he's like, but I don't have that offer in hand. And I was like, yet. Like, what can you do today to get the other offer? He's like, yeah, but nobody turns down that offer. I'm like, I understand, but nobody else has that big dream, the big dream you have.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's when I was just like, when he was like, oh, and sure enough, he went and created a job out of thin air for himself.
Wow.
That got him on the path that he said he wanted. I was like, oh man, that's what I'm talking about.
Dude. That's so cool, bro. Because like I can just see it, right? Like I can see why that lights you up, because the person is confiding in you and saying, okay, I want to go to the top of that mountain over there. That mountain. I'm pointing to that mountain. And you're saying, all right, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you keep your eyes on that mountain. And then I'm going to help you make decisions that move you towards that mountaintop. And then they get this offer that's like a different mountaintop. And it's like, but that one's just as high. And, I've heard good things about that one. And you're like, but that's not where you said you wanted to go. So, right, you're going to keep them faithful and focused, and you're going to bring clarity. And I see all the giftings, man, like the tools. You're bringing clarity. You're bringing a sense of purpose. You're bringing intentionality. You're helping people overcome indecision. You're helping people recognize that, no, they don't just want the Cadillac. You actually want to be a person of purpose that's effective in the lives of other people. That needs to be a feature. That needs to be a foundation of what you're doing. Let's work on that. What does it mean to you said your big, bold life? That's something you said. I think you said it at least once in this conversation. Where did you get that terminology, and what does that mean? Your big, bold life. How do you use that?
I wish I could give credit to the person who gave this to me, but it starts with an idea that believers in particular are playing way too small. Like, it's house money. Like, it's this tension that we have, which is it is not our works, but through our works, right? Like, you have been given all these gifts, and you don't have to earn anything. Like, but man, just imagine. So I try to keep an eye on two things, and it's who I'm becoming and then who I'm helping on the way to becoming who I'm becoming. That's that other center
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
And those are two very different metrics than even the ones I tried to arrange my life by 10, 15, 20 years ago. I thought I was doing a better job at living on purpose because I wasn't just falling trapped to buying stuff, and I was thinking more about experiences and even the word impact, which I like. But it wasn't until somebody explained this, like, you're doing two things. You're becoming a new you, and you're impacting people as you're becoming that new version of you. And as a believer, that new you is hopefully conformed to the image of Jesus Christ. So there's really not a lot of leeway in what that is. If you're walking the path you say you're walking,
Yeah.
when you talk about we're God's handiwork with the path prepared for us in advance, like that's the path. I mean, some of us may talk about like this type of work or that type of work, but to me, that path that they're talking about there is the one where I get conformed to the image of Jesus. So
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's good. And so are you feeling closer to living your bold, beautiful life based on drinking your own Kool-Aid? And what does that look like?
yeah, it's funny. My wife probably gets tired of me sometimes because it's like the closer I get, the more aware I am that I'm further away than I'd like to be. I want to get there faster. It's easy for me to notice where I played something too small or too safe.
Yeah.
But she will remind me if you zoom out, she's like, look, compared to other people, like, see that chance you took? Other people wouldn't have done this or they wouldn't have done that. So it's like anything. It's the more you get aware of it, the further away it starts to feel.
Yeah, there's a book out there by Dan Sullivan called The Gap and the Gain. Have you heard of that one?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I even hear even what you described as like a treatise that sounds like your wife helps you see the gain, you see the gap, and and we have a tendency to see the gap, right? Like, but the gap is always, let's see, you never reach that destination, right? Like that's the thing about dreaming, big dreaming, you know, things I want to accomplish in the world and that I want to see. And then you accomplish part of it, but then the goal, it resets itself. It goes further. Now what's the next thing? And there will never not be a next thing, which is why it's so important to have someone in your life that's pointing you towards, yeah, but look how far you come. Like, look at this. Let's actually celebrate this and give it some attention. So kudos to your wife, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the dream as you know it. So what is the mountaintop, right? So you're the guy that helps other people get to their mountaintop. What does the mountaintop look like for you?
There's three components to it. So first, I'll zoom out. So as we talked about before, I'm thinking about believers primarily. And to the extent that I impact other people, that's going to be fantastic, but I will start there. I want people to realize that their decisions shape their lives, and no one trained them how to do it. They probably can't articulate how they do it, and in many cases, they can't even articulate why they're doing it. So I want people to take their decisions with a level of seriousness that it deserves, because again, it's that or luck. That's what's shaping your life.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's the first component to it.
Yeah. That's broad. Yeah.
I mean, that's big enough to start with.
I love it. Yeah. You just want more people to take their decisions seriously, to be equipped, to be with the gift of intentionality.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
I want to pass that on essentially to other people.
Okay.
I want to be a tool for helping create systems, frameworks, tools, education, whatever it's going to take to accelerate those journeys. So that is the sort of the what of the content of my work, because I feel like I have been lucky enough to do every one of those things. I have been a trainer, I have been a speaker, I have been a coach, I've been a consultant. There's no reason I can't take every one of those things that I did, some in completely different areas, and bring them to this.
Yes. Right. In a systematic way, it sounds like a systematic way that accelerates. That's the word you used. Like these are tools, proven tools for accelerating the journey towards intentionality in your decision making.
Yep. And the third, which gets even bigger, and I don't even know how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to keep putting it out in the world, which is I I want to take this to parents and kids, because just what if we could arm parents want their kids to make better decisions. Have you ever heard a parent do a good job of explaining what that even means or how to do it? Nope. I don't either. But I'm going to fix that. I'm going to start by fixing it for me as a parent, and then I want to gift that to everybody else. Like, what if every parent was armed with the ability to teach their kids what that really means to make better decisions?
Yeah, man. So of the three, which one which feel the nearest, and which of the three feel the furthest away? Or did you list them in that order?
The second one is super tangible, right? I can crank out some courses. I can keep improving those. I can get in front of people. And then hopefully that has impact, that snowballs. And when done well, that can lead back to the first, just by sort of turning that into a platform for just speaking the truth about how important this is.
Yeah.
And then I think it's another big step from there with a platform and some of the tools to then take it to the third one, which again, and there's missing pieces to that puzzle that I don't even know. I know they're missing pieces, but I can't even describe what those missing pieces are. But
Right. But you want to see a move. That's the battlefront that you want to be on, right? That's where you see the battle, because now you can start to win the war with kids that are being taught when they're at more of an impressionable age the skills that they need to go out and then make a difference in the world through a larger portion of their lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that I will say there are people in the secular world who are taking this on in its early stages. So it is not solo. There are other people out there who call them decision strategists or decision scientists who are taking this on. But if there's another person trying to do this with more of a faith-centered angle, I have not met them. Or they're probably looking, or they might be looking for me, going, "Why are you hiding? We need to, we need to get on this." So it's not a solo thing, and there are definitely some believers in that space, but they're tackling it from a much more of the secular angle.
Yeah, dude. Well, thank you for sharing that dream with me, and then for everybody that's listening, you know what we're trying to do here. We're trying to open doors for each other. I always say that you have the keys to 1,000 doors, but they're not your doors, right? And so I'm already thinking of keys that I might have, the doors that Andy needs. I love that parenting angle. Actually, I love that. Our journey is a little bit parallel in some ways, bro, because it's funny. Your passion for decision science and decision making. My passion is for identity, superpowers, and self-discovery. And I also see the need for parents to be, because it's been so effective in my home with my kids, helping my kids understand their superpowers and be able to articulate, their design and how it works with the strengths and the weaknesses, and to be able to own all that and to call all of that beautiful, right? And then not to compare with other kids, right? I don't have to compare because God made me special. And someone's helped me understand how God made me special, which means I don't have to compare with your kind of special. I can just honor your kind of special, right? Like that's and so I also have a desire to impact parents, don't necessarily know how to do that. For me, it might manifest as a book, the Superpower Parent, which is something that I've put out into the world. Do you have a book in you, Andy? You think is there a book coming from you sometime?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I have the framework. As I mentioned, it just sort of spilled out of me while I was doing my coaching. Any good sort of marketer or brand person is like, oh, this is a thing. Like, I shouldn't lose this. So I forced myself to document it, put it down. I've done a couple webinars and workshops for people where I walk through it. It's resonated enough that I'm like, I think this is it. So now it's just putting it into a book and figuring out how to make it most useful. If the book is what's most useful, great. If courses are what's most useful, hey, I'm just trying to impact some lives. And we'll see what happens there.
I don't often meet people with as much clarity as you have about the particular calling that's on your life, the particular mountain that you're trying to hike, and what the top looks like. So thank you for sharing all this with us, and thank you for being with us today.
It has been my pleasure. I really love what you're doing, and I love what it's going to bring out in people, and I'm just honored to have been here.
So pumped, bro. And for anybody else who was with us up to this point, I'm so grateful that we got to have you with us. And you know, keep Andy in your back pocket. You now know a decision genius, right? Like I'm trying to bring you people that have superpowers in all these different areas, people that can serve in all these different areas, like their area of passion, their area of calling, their area of focus, their area of spiritual gifting. You know, you want to do business with those kind of people, right? Am I wrong? Like I'm telling you, like that's who I want to be doing business with, is folks that are gifted and called to do what they're doing. And I don't want people from the middle tier. So people like Andy, keep them in your Rolodex. And we will see you next time. So take it easy, everybody. See you later.